All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. Always come upon the fantasy football front, gentlemen, for roughly the next month or so until the NFL draft shakes things up yet again. Therefore, it's the perfect time to go head-to-head in a 12-team mock draft for redraft leagues. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and absolutely fired up for the program tonight as I'm gonna try some things out. Gonna get interesting in the strategy realm, see how things play out, and because that's really what all mocking's about, gentlemen. Right? It's tinkering, it's fine tuning your approach, and back with us again is that general manager of this show and the company as a whole. That's right, he's a big business, light ranch and son of a gun, Eric Romoff. Tex, how are you as we're on the doorstep of the first redraft mock of 2026?
I'm fired up. It's cool to get in here and wrench around with some stuff, right? You always kind of have a rough sense of where guys are on your board in concept, but until you're actually running down ADPs and clicking names, it's not actually locked in, right? So we're getting to put this into practice and see how these teams come together as we get deeper into the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really good time to kind of just start feeling out, hey, where's that running back dead zone? Where is that cliff for the top or the second tier of wide receivers? Where am I going to get left out in the cold if I don't take a quarterback by? Those are always the interesting questions that I like to really find out as we're doing these mocks. And also back in the mix tonight is a man who was recently labeled a Luther Burden Glazer. Yes, he's our entertainment and NFL guru here at IBT. He's Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steven, how are you after a pretty busy week on the content front, man?
I am riding high off of the content front. I am watching movies at a clip that would make Scorsese blush at this point. I got to host one of my favorite actresses in the world on the pod, and then and get insulted by the IBT faithful, which is always good because it usually means I'm right. So once people get mad at me, I feel pretty good about my take.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric will certainly join you in that conversation at some point as well with the Luther Burden Stan. And a quick reminder, the easiest way to support the show here, please give this video a thumbs up. We really appreciate had a big response on that last episode. So we really appreciate that, especially as we're starting to branch out here into the sub channels, including the IBT podcast sub channel right here on YouTube. That's right. It's just NFL football all the time from a gambling and a fantasy football perspective. You can subscribe right now at youtube.com/at the IBT podcast. Make sure you're checking it out over there. We'd really appreciate your support. And, if you enjoyed this show and you just want to watch on the main channel, come on over. Make sure you're helping out the sub channel as well as we continue to grow that. We'd really, really appreciate that. It's the easiest way to support us right now for free. And guys, let's go ahead and fire things up. We're going to go back in the day with a redraft mock, learn from our mistakes and even our successes a year ago and how we can apply them to the 2026 fantasy football landscape.
They ain't make them like this way back in the day. Took a shot, couldn't miss way back in the day. Couldn't predict how it could all change. Don't you ever forget how far we came. How far we came. Never forget how far we came. How far we came. Remember how it was way back in the day.
All right, we're going back in the day, learning from what we took away from the 2025 redraft season and apply that into 2026. Because while I love just diving into the mocks, gentlemen, I also think it's always important to kind of learn from what we've seen in the past and some of these trends that continue to develop and even change in the fantasy football landscape. And really my biggest takeaway was just go get your guys, right? And be prepared to go down with the ship with them, right? I was super high on Ashton Jeanty last year, taking him in the top 6 redrafts, did not come to fruition. But, I also took some picks that even made my home league fellow league mates, laugh at me at the draft, whether that was taking JSN in the second round or whether that was going after someone like Cam Scadaboo as my RB2. And you know what? I had a good time going down with those guys. And, sometimes it doesn't go your way with injuries or just underperformers. But that was really one of my big takeaways. I just had a lot more fun this past season, making sure I had those players on my team rather than always trying to get the absolute max value on them, rather than, getting sniped a pick or two right before you get them. So, Steve, did you have a big takeaway from your 2025 draft experience?
Yeah, don't overthink it. Sometimes the simple answer is, in fact, the best answer. So when you're sitting on the board at the 101, you don't have to get uber fancy. It's, last year, like Bijan was the consensus 101, and that seemed to hold true throughout the entire season. It was Bijan, it was Chase, it was Puka, and sometimes a simple answer is the best answer. And when you start to get a little too fancy with it, that's when you end up with Cam Scadaboo as your RB2, and it ruins your entire season. So, you don't want to try to outthink the game. We have a lot of data. We have a good set of eyes. So when we watch the game, what a good player is. Stick to your guns.
I will say Cam Scadaboo was working out pretty well through the first 6 or 7 weeks until he ended up with a pretty gruesome injury. Eric, any huge takeaways from you from that 2025 redraft season?
Yeah, not specifically to, or I guess from that 2025 redraft season, but more just kind of prevailing wisdom, right? Which is to say, try not to overreact or overcorrect based on what happened last year, right? I'm seeing, and I think we will continue to see a lot of the pendulum swing back towards pretty running back heavy starts and a little bit more favoritism towards running back generally in 2026 based on how that position performed relative to expectation and relative to wide receivers last year.
Yeah.
And really just try to cut off that pendulum swing before it gets too far out of whack, right? Really keep a balanced approach. Try to be mindful of what the market within your league is doing in terms of their tendencies, as well as the redraft market broadly. And maybe position yourself to where you're a little bit more kind of neutralized or hedged against those ups and downs of the year-to-year trends.
Can I add one more?
Yeah, please.
The 400 touch curse, that is a real thing. Once someone gets 400 touches in a season, avoid them like the plague at whatever their cost is in a draft.
Yeah, it certainly tanked Saquon Barkley, managers last season. We'll have that same conversation here shortly with Christian McCaffrey as well. One of the other final things I'd like to add too, like, Eric, you really put us on a few years ago, like, hey, let's stop overpaying for these onesie positions. And it feels like it just continues to ring true year after year, right? I mean, if you got yourself a Josh Allen, that's absolutely fine. But if you took someone like Lamar Jackson or a Jane Daniels or even a Jalen Hurts, you were left pretty disappointed rather than a lot of us who were just kind of going after these, Drake Mays, the Caleb Williams of the world, right? At quarterback, you're grabbing someone like Tyler Warren, taking shots on Harold Fannin Jr., these young Colston Loveland, young gun rookies. So, I'm going to continue to fade onesie positions and just load up on running back and wide receiver, I think, especially in these first 7, 8 to 9 rounds. So, gentlemen, love that discussion there. I want to go ahead and bring up this redraft that we're going to be getting on with here tonight. And of course, we will be using the Fantasy Pros mock draft simulator yet again. It's a great tool, whether you want to draft with some other compadres, some randoms once the mock draft lobby opens to the public later here this summer, or if you just want to sim against the computer. So fantasypros.com/simulator is where you can find that. And Eric, you're going to be drafting from the 101 today. Steve, you're going to be at that faithful 107, always in the middle of the drafts, is Steve, which I appreciate because that's one of the more tougher places to usually draft from. Then I'll be on the turn at the 112. So whether you have an early, middle, or end pick, we have you covered right here in this mock draft. So let's go ahead and get it fired up. Really excited to dive into this one, gentlemen. And Eric, any initial thoughts for you as we begin this draft? And what is the approach here at the 101 this season? Is it as easy as, hey, let's just go with the consensus 101, let's take someone like Jamar Chase, or is it maybe a different approach here this go around?
Yeah, slightly different, at least for me, in so much as I don't know if we have as clear cut a 101 as we have in recent years past, right? From my vantage point, I think you can make a pretty defendable case for like 4 guys to be the 101. It's why Steve is already winning the draft by sitting in that 5th spot, right? He gets to take the best guy available after that tier. Hope someone falls, right? So I definitely think that there isn't as clear cut a 101 overall. For me, I think based on what I'm seeing in ADP so far, a lot of what's informing my pick and my decision at the 101 spot is the tier of players that I'm expecting to be available to me in 24 picks, right? The 2-3 turn is a long way away, and it seems like there are some pretty clear tier breaks that I don't want to be beholden to when I'm making my 2nd and 3rd round picks. So for me, I'm actually going to buck what seems to be a bit of the consensus wisdom, go running back with the 1st overall pick, and I'll bring in Bijan Robinson. I do think that there's a bit of a running back cliff as I am looking at the 2-3 turn. But also you look at the circumstance for Bijan Robinson, right? Tyler Algier is out the door and, goes with him about 600 yards of productivity and 8 total touchdowns. We have Kevin Stefanski heading into the head coaching and play calling position there for the Atlanta Falcons. He is a play caller that is not shy about running his offense through the ground game. But also when you think about some of the things that Bijan Robinson does best, right? He was out there last year, number 2 in targets among running backs, 103 of them specifically. And last year alone, the Cleveland Browns were 5th in the league in terms of target shares thrown to the running back position. I know they just signed Brian Robinson Jr. to make that backfield, at least from a naming standpoint, as confusing as possible. But he's not a viable threat in terms of the passing down work or really any meaningful workload to cut into Bijan Robinson. So he's the clear running back 1 on my board, and I'm happy to take him 101 overall.
Okay, Steve's on the clock here with time winding down at the 107. In between Steve's picks are Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith-Njigba coming off the board at the 102, the 103, and the 104 respectively. So huge rise from JSN over the last season. Of course, wins that Offensive Player of the Year award. Jahmyr Gibbs off the board next. And then, of course, it's CeeDee Lamb. Steve, Christian McCaffrey, the fade is real for you this season. Is that what led into the Amon-Ra St. Brown pick? And is this another place, hey, let's just not get too cute and try to fade a guy who has been a perennial all-star for fantasy football purposes over the last few seasons?
Yeah, so you got to, with your first pick, you really can't duff it, right? And I looked at the board. McCaffrey was not efficient at all last year, so that killed him for me. Jefferson, I know Kyler Murray's there now, but Kyler Murray, if he doesn't start, that means I'm stuck with J.J. McCarthy again. And I don't want to ride that out a second year. So that knocked him out. Drake London, I don't like Tua and him as a combination. So it just came down to Amon-Ra is the safest bet. Like, he has the safest floor and a super high ceiling. That was a absolute, like, it was more just he was the clear-cut, like, tier break player at that moment.
Okay. Yeah, it totally makes sense for me. I do agree there's a bit of a tier after him. And there goes your man, Christian McCaffrey at the 108 to team 8. And then Justin Jefferson, Drake London, 2 guys looking to maybe potentially have a bounce back season, different quarterbacks in the mix for those teams competing with those incumbent starters as well. Jonathan Taylor off the board at the 111. So guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and do what I want to do here with De'Von Achane. I'm going to go ahead and I want to try out Pocket Rocket, see what it would bring if I went running back, because dude, like Achane, he's the only show in town right now. He's probably about to get a big extension from what we're hearing from the insiders out there in the NFL streets as well. And I think with him and Malik Willis, you add another running threat to that backfield, and you're just setting yourself up for success for bigger plays where, hey, now we actually have to respect a mobile quarterback and can't just absolutely load the box here against someone like De'Von Achane. I like the new play calling. It's a defensive-minded head coach as well coming in. So I think this will really pay dividends for a Dolphins team that's still going to be in a bit of a rebuild, but we'll see how they do here this season. And you guys know I got to do it. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on Ashton Jeanty at the 201. Revamped offensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders. They bring in big Tyler Lindenbaum from the from the Baltimore Ravens. They also, of course, are going to get Colton Miller back after he went down early last season. Fernando coming in. should help this offense. We'll see what they can do in the receiving standpoint when it comes to the NFL draft. But I just think it will be less stacked boxes, less yards before contact this next season. So I'm going to go Pocket Rockets here, Achane Genty, and then it's Malik Neighbors at that 202. Rashee Rice at the 203. Risky pick considering just kind of the legal standpoint, but definitely the upside is warranted there. Nico Collins at that 204. Team 8 is going to go RB as well with Pocket Rockets here. Christian McCaffrey and James Cook. Steve, that leaves you on the board at the 206. What's the move for you in this second round after a sea of running backs coming off the board?
I'm going to continue the sea of running backs, and I'm going to go with the guy who I think has the highest upside of all those running backs. That would be Kenneth Walker, now moving to Kansas City. I know it's a reach. I know the ECR doesn't agree with me, but that's okay because I'm my own person and I have agency. So I think this is a guy who, listen, free agency opened up and immediately the Chiefs said, we're going to get Kenneth Walker. And that was the move they made. They let Pacheco go. This is his show. He's the most explosive running back on the board right now. I think this is absolutely a match made in heaven. I know Justin Fields may start the season, but that means that, that could be a lot of dump off passes. We have Eric Bieniemy back as the offensive coordinator. There's a lot of good signs of high fantasy production for Kenneth Walker. You just have to kind of bite the bullet a bit and reach because he's just that guy. He feels like that guy that you almost have to reach in order to get at this point.
Okay. All right. And Eric, you're going to be coming up here at the 212. But before that, we did have Chris Olave off the board at the 207 after just a career banner season working with Tyler Shuck and company. Trey McBride, George Pickens, A.J. Brown still on the Eagles as of right now. And then O'Marion Hampton. Oh, that would have been a great start for you there, getting another young running back. What is the move here at the 212, Eric?
Yeah, so this played out almost exactly as I wanted it to. I was hoping to get to fall right into this tier. Happy to make my first selection, that being Tetairoa McMillan. I am absolutely wheels up on him in year number 2. We saw him really hit his stride as we got further into the season last year, and I think we're going to see yet another year of this Panthers offense continuing to take incremental steps forward and a potential leap in terms of his development after posting a phenomenal 1,000-yard plus rookie season. So love getting Tet McMillan here with the second round pick, and then double tap over to Garrett Wilson. One of my favorite dynasty assets and one of the more skilled wide receivers in today's NFL, but unfortunately has been playing with a bunch of bums at quarterback for the vast majority of his career. Now, we can poke fun at Geno Smith all we want, but he comes in as one of the more capable signal callers under center that Garrett Wilson has had in his NFL career, and a circumstance where the Jets are likely to be trailing a fair amount of games. There aren't really very many, if any, other threats to tap into that target share, right? Breece Hall is certainly among there. Adonai Mitchell still kind of kicking around, but ultimately, 2 guys in Tetairoa and Garrett Wilson that should absolutely dominate their team's target share. And that's exactly what I'm looking for my first 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the maybe sneaky suspicion that the Jets aren't going to be patient at quarterback, and maybe they use one of those first round picks on Ty Simpson as well. And then we actually have maybe, a competent quarterback compared to, no offense to Geno Smith, but I just think, you've kind of passed your prime. You're going to be playing on a bad team as well. So I'd feel much better with Garrett Wilson maybe in a month's time if he did have a Ty Simpson there, at least pushing the mark. And then after you, Eric, go wide receiver, it's more running backs off the board. Chase Brown, Saquon Barkley. So crazy to kind of see the fall of Saquon Barkley, from a potential top 6 pick last season all the way down here into the early 3rd. I don't hate that value, honestly. Same with Chase Brown, who definitely had his struggles at the beginning of the season, but turned in a really nice overall year. And then it's back-to-back-to-back onesie positions. It's Brock Bowers, it's Josh Allen, and it's Drake May coming off the board. Wow, what a rise for someone like May, Steve, who we certainly had an eye on last season. But it is certainly not a shocker to see him all the way up here at 306. You and I had talked on an early sleepers episode that hey, if Drake May was maybe going around quarterback 5 or 6, we'd be back in. Not at this price tag though, and that kind of opens up the board for you as well here in the third round.
Yeah, these mocks sometimes. This is why I don't like picking against the AI essentially all that often, because these one-off positions do tend to get Drake May's value has become goofy, I think, at this point.
I've been seeing him even in industry mocks with all humans going in this mid third round though.
That's just crazy to me, because he was doing it last year on an efficiency that just doesn't seem sustainable, right? And it's not like the receiving core has gotten that much better. It's actually gotten, I think, worse. I don't think Dobbs is quite as good as Stephon Diggs was even last year. So I'm curious what the plan is. I don't think that he's going to be able to get that benefit of like the terrible schedule that he had. Like, he was playing the worst team, like the easiest strength of schedule maybe of all time. It was just a bunch of jokes like throughout the year. And then we saw him have to go up against good competition, and he kind of got rocked, right? So I'm worried about that. That being said, I'm about to do something that's going to make everything I just said sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm going to take a dart throw on Jeremiah Love. I think that he's going to land somewhere like Washington, and I'm going to feel really good about this, right? He is, I wouldn't say he's a generational prospect, because I think we throw that term around too much, but he's certainly a star. He's certainly ready to go. He is an all-down back. He's an all-purpose back. His pass blocking, as Eric loves to focus on with these young rookie running backs, is actually solid enough to keep him on the field. So if he goes to a team that is looking and going, hey, we got to get this ground game going, like Washington, who really hasn't addressed the position at all, this could be a monster pick. If he goes in the top 10, history tells us that top 10 running back picks do tend to have very solid rookie years fantasy-wise. So I'm very excited about what Jeremiah Love can bring to my team. And I'm very excited that I have 2 home run hitters in him and Kenneth Walker right now.
Yeah. I was thinking that was maybe where Eric was going to go on that turn. I even honestly considered Jeremiah Love if Achane wasn't there, and I was going to go Genty and Love at the 112 and 201. Like that's where Seth. I mean, never gentlemen, change. Like if we're talking about like potential elite rookie running backs, I think you gotta take the shot here on someone like Jeremiah Love. He might wind up in just a great spot as well. But yeah, definitely sticking to the brand right there. Joe Burrow off the board next to the 308, Bucky Irving at the 309, Zay Flowers at the 310, Lamar Jackson at the 311. That leaves me up here at the 312, where I'm going to start out with grab my wide receiver 1. It's Ladd McConkey. Steve, you and I still have, I think, a 5-year bet going, maybe 4 years, maybe 2 years. I don't remember how many years we put on that. But if Ladd McConkey, I think, can clear 140, 150 targets in a year.
150.
I think he definitely has a better shot this season to get there. I'll tell you that much, because, Keenan Allen not signed back with the team right now. He really struggled down the stretch. Of course, you have Trey Harris, who will take a step forward. Quentin Johnston had a bigger season a year ago, at least in spurts. Oronde Gadsden. I will say, though, the change in offensive coordinator has me kind of buzzing about the Chargers all of a sudden as well. So I think
I don't think that's going to do well for your target share, though. That's going to do well for your production overall. But McDaniel is a run-first kind of guy, and then he bombs it over the top. He's very much a...
Yeah, but he also took Jalen Waddle to pretty good heights in his early career as well. So Ladd's the pick there, and then I'm also going to start out the 4th round here with Davante Adams. So for me, the pick on Adams is quite simple, gentlemen. It's just, look, I'm going to go out and grab a guy. Maybe the cliff comes for him. And if it does, so what? I still think he's a guy who's always going to have name value in your league. I think he's also someone who, as we saw him and Matt Stafford, automatic connection last season. I think they continue that here, specifically in the red zone. So I'm just going to grab some high touchdown upside to kind of go with someone like Ladd, who a bit more of a steady Eddie, less touchdown upside. T. Higgins coming back here at 402. Colston Loveland, the next tight end off the board, at the 403. Josh Jacobs at the 404. Harold Fannin Jr. all the way up here at the 405. Steve, you're back on the board here at the 406. What's the move? You've now gone wide receiver, running back.
And I'm going to fill out a flex position. Believe it or not, I am going to go and grab Travis Achane, as it is correctly pronounced. And I'm going to bet on Kellen Moore. We talked about this on the last show. This is a guy who has significant upside because the Saints, who have the cap issues, who weren't super free to spend whatever they wanted, went out and bought a running back, which tells me that they're kind of out on Kamara. They don't feel like they have the guy on the roster. So I am all in on Travis Etienne to be that guy, that RB1 in a Kellen Moore system that we saw Saquon Barkley thrive in. So I'm very excited about it.
Okay. Travis Etienne to Steve here at the 406. Breece Hall at the 407. JMO coming off the board at the 408, followed by Derrick Henry, 4-9. Jane Daniels checking back in after a lackluster sophomore season at the 410. Mike Evans at the 411. Eric, that puts you back up on the clock with roughly 40 seconds remaining. Who is the pick here at the 12? I know, the Glaze conversation is getting a bit sticky over here, I think, all of a sudden again.
Yeah, it is. It is getting pretty sticky, and I'm over here reeling from the bots literally drafting 7 straight guys from IQ in between Steve's pick and mine. So flat-footed a little bit, but I really do think we are at a tier break in terms of the running back position. So I'm going to go out and get my RB2 in Kyren Williams, a guy that is in an offense that should be one of the highest scoring teams in all of the NFL, and playing for a coach that loves to run his running backs into the ground. So I think we still have at least another season or 2 of goodness coming out of Kyren Williams. As much as I would like to click Luther Burden's name for the brand specifically, all of a sudden we are also right at a tight end cliff, and it is late enough. And I want to twist the knife into your side by taking your boy Tyler Warren, arguably the biggest beneficiary of Michael Pittman heading out of town. Should be an absolutely electric sophomore season for Mr. Warren.
Wow, yeah, it's so early for Eric to take a one-off position like this. This is so unusual.
It is, but it's a cliff. I do agree with Eric. Yeah. It's a big tier break after Tyler Warren for me in my rankings, and I think getting him early 5th round, I really like this start, Eric. You've done a great job adding some high upside, almost number 1 targets in their offense respectively, and then also great value on Kyren Williams at that 412. What an amazing pick. I think Kyren Williams should be honestly going it right around, if not before, guys like Josh Jacobs. I would take him over Bucky Irving. I think he's right behind Love kind of in that conversation. So great value all around from Eric. Travion Henderson at that 502 will move into that round as well. And then Terry McLaurin at the 503, RJ Harvey at the 504, 505, DK Metcalf, and then Rome Odunze at the 506. So your boy's still on the board. If you want him, Steve, is now the time.
Now is the time, and I've been known for I was called a Glazer, and you know what? My talents are pretty good at that, and I'm going to continue them. I'm going to take Luther Burden right now. I think that the AI, the computer, took the wrong Chicago wide receiver. I don't think Rome is a bad wide receiver by any means, but I certainly don't think he is as dynamic as Luther Burden. This is a guy who was a Biletnikoff contender before that awful fall apart season at Missouri. So I think with the shipping out of DJ Moore, this is indicated, like I said on the last show, that it is Luther Burden's show it's kind of his job to lose as the primary playmaker in the Chicago Bears offense, a creative offense with Ben Johnson, where Caleb Williams likes to kind of chuck things into oblivion and do some weird stuff. This is the Luther Burden special right here. I mean, we couldn't draw up a better offense for him to be a part of in the league. And I said it on that pod, and people called me a Glazer. They said I was out of my mind, but he is one of the most dangerous players in the open field in the NFL right now. That is just what he is. And I'm going to take that. He was supposed to be a 4th rounder, end of the 4th. I got him in the middle of the 5th. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, it's definitely better value than what I thought we would get on Luther Burden in this draft. So I like that pick. Coming up next here after there, we did have Jalen Waddle come off the board as well, and then Cam Scatterboo, 509, coming off that injury. Hopefully he can survive a Jeremiah Love landing there in New York. Javonte Williams back in at the 510, DJ Moore at the 511. And boys, I'm just going to go ahead and take someone I'm back in on. Give me the wide receiver 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, baby. Emeka Egbuka. I think this is a guy who, hey, we need to see him step up in this X role a bit more. Planning that's where they play him this season. Definitely had his more success playing that flanker. So Mike Evans leaving is a bit concerning, but at the same time, it should help the overall target volume there. It should help him, just continue to build that one-on-one relationship with a guy like Baker Mayfield that I still have confidence in. I know people are kind of down on the Bucs as a whole, but I'm here for it. And I'm going to follow that up, guys. We're going to get into round 6 here. And I'm going to do something I usually wouldn't do, but I think it's just good value at this point. Give me a little Jalen Hurts, right? I mean, dude, talk about a guy who tush push not getting banned from all that we're hearing as well, and got Kevin Patullo out of Philadelphia. I think it's an improved offense potentially coming their way. Maybe they go out, get a guy like Eli Stowers in the second round of the NFL draft as well. So I'm back in on Hurts here. A down season. I don't know how many can repeat. So I think there's a tier break here at the quarterback position. So I'm going to go ahead and take Hurts at that 601, followed by Bashaw Tutin at the 602, Devonta Smith, Christian Watson, Michael Wilson off the board. A run of wide receivers, Steve. Is that where you go back to the well this round?
Yes. And I go to a guy that I, again, told the people to go draft. He was on my breakout list, which is funny to say because he's had multiple top 5 finishes in his career. Give me Chris Godwin, the wide receiver 1 down there in Tampa Bay. They still got Baker Mayfield, who can still sling it. He's going to be healthy this year. He had that whole season to get himself right and get going. We saw the glimpses of it as the season went on. It started to come together. Then Mike Evans goes out of town and Chris Godwin remains, which tells me that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers believe that he is ready to go. Good to go. I believe in Chris Godwin.
Okay, Chris Godwin off the board to Steve at the 606. Like what you're putting together as well there, Steve. Cortland Sutton comes off the board next, followed by DeAndre Swift. Bo Nix at the 609. Wandale Robinson checks in at the 610, and Jacoby Myers off the board at the 611. Eric, very balanced approach for you so far in this draft. Where do you head at the 612?
Yeah, going to try to stay balanced, and not only in terms of roster composition, but also how I'm balancing risk and upside exposure. I'm going to start with a name that is a fair bit controversial, but at least for my money, has the inside track to be the wide receiver 1 on his team, and certainly has a talent profile, at least as a prospect, and potentially as a pro that gives you a lot to be excited about. I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, look, we see what the Arizona Cardinals are doing. We've got Jacoby Brissett back under center as the presumed starter. With him starting games last year, Arizona led the NFL with 38.2 pass attempts per game, right? And only 2 of those starts did Marvin Harrison play a significant number of snaps. In those 2 games, he scored 22.6 points and 14.3 points respectively, right? So there is a lot of upside and a lot of meat on the bone for Marvin Harrison, for a Cardinals offense that should be playing plenty of catch up this year. After that, I am going to, I guess, take my first bench player, going back to the running back position, Quinshon Judkins. Positive reporting coming out of Cleveland in terms of his recovery from that leg injury at a pretty early point in the season last year. And now with him as essentially the first person off my bench or potentially rotating into my flex spot, got a little bit of time for him to shake the rust off and get back up to what was a very electric form when he eventually took that job over midway through the season last year. So keeping the balanced approach alive, alternating between receiver and running back here.
Okay, BPA never failed anyone. That's what they say, folks. And Justin Herbert comes off the board at the 702. Tucker Kraft, another onesie at the 703. Ricky Pearsall, Brian Thomas Jr., and Kyle Pitts right before you, Steve. I knew you were eyeing them up. Don't say you weren't. What are you doing here now at the 707? Are you maybe going back to the wide receiver well, or is this where you take a dive back into maybe that running back pool, or is it a time for a onesie?
It is back to the running backs for me. I'm going to go make a move for a guy who I think is actually a little underappreciated right now in these fantasy streets, considering he's in a new situation. He's now the guy in his new home. Give me David Montgomery down there in Houston. No one was able to claim it. No one was able to come out, take that starting spot, and hold it. It doesn't look like things are working out well for our rookie friend down there. And so it certainly doesn't look like Nick Chubb is coming back to life anytime soon. So give me David Montgomery, even if he's just a goal line monster. You know what? I'll take that safe floor in the 7th round. 7th round is kind of that time, you want with Godwin and Montgomery, these last 2 picks. I have these high upside guys, but you need that consistency that keeps your team from sinking and ruining your season. So where you have these big boom guys, you need to have that safe floor guy. And that's what David Montgomery and Chris Godwin do for me.
Okay. Yeah. I like that pick a lot. He was someone in my queue. And also in my queue, a couple guys, Michael Pittman Jr. off the board at 708, Caleb Williams at the 709, Jackson Dart to follow, and then Carnell Tate. I've been screaming that I've been getting sniped, but I've been getting sniped by you guys. Like, I mean, Eric sniped me 12 picks away for Tyler Warren. Like, that's not a real snipe. This one hurt at the 711, Carnell Tate. He was top of the queue because let me tell you, when he finds a landing spot, this guy's going to be a 4th or 5th round pick, if not higher up, because that's always the range rookie wide receivers go. So in the 7th round, absolute gem there. And give me a little Alec Pierce here at the 712, boys. Like, talk about a guy who just got absolutely paid. He's going to be in this mix for the top or maybe 2nd target, depending on how you feel about Tyler Warren in this Indianapolis offense. We'll see if Danny Dimes, hopefully on recovery to return by that week 1 showdown as well. So I like Alec Pierce a lot. I think he's a guy, I mean, we saw what he could do on, 40, 50 some targets or receptions the past few seasons. Let's see what he can do now with an elevated target share. As my wide receiver 4, like, he's the perfect guy you want in your 2nd flex spot, right? Someone you want in that 2nd flex. By the way, this is, I should have said this at the top, but this is only a 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 2 flex, 1 tight end, and then 4 bench spot league. We're going 12 rounds deep. So just got my 4th wide receiver, feeling good about that. I think we're entering another tier break unless you want to take a shot on a rookie here. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Like, I also don't like a lot of the running backs coming my way. So I'm just going to take Jaylen Warren. I should have wore the jersey tonight as well. You guys know how I feel about Jaylen Warren, just a guy underappreciated. I do love me some Rico Dowdle coming into this offense with big Mike McCarthy, but Warren's absolute fan favorite in Pittsburgh. Very steady in his first year as the full starter. He's going to give me RB2 numbers and someone I can plug in on bye weeks, or if one of these wide receivers are underperforming a little bit, throw in that flex. So love getting Jaylen Warren here in the 8th round. Not the sexiest pick by any means, but my pick for sure. Stephon Diggs off the board at the 802. James Conner coming in at the 803. Jordan Addison, 804. And then Ramondre off the board right before Steve. Steve, what's the move now? It's been all running back, all wide receiver to continue here at the 806.
Yeah, because there is now, we've hit this point in drafts where I kind of just call it the F it zone, and I only call it that because we're PG here at IBT.
Yeah.
But this is where you need to start taking your shots. You can't sit there and be like, well, ADP is this. Listen, ADP means nothing now. It's all a crapshoot. It's even Steven across the board. Go with the guys who have the upside. There is a name that is on this board that when the lights were brightest, he came out and put up a monster stat line, and he had done that kind of toward the end of this year or this past year. Give me Parker Washington down there in Jacksonville. I like the upside. I think that is the wide receiver 1 right now in Jacksonville. He is that X receiver. He's Trevor Lawrence's go-to guy, I think, at this point.
Wow. I feel like I just had deja vu. Like, I've heard you either A, say that exact thing around this round of the draft, or I've seen you take Parker Washington, which I know you've never taken him there because obviously his ADP's never been this high before, but I love the pick nonetheless. Despite the deja vu, Tony Pollard off the board with 807. We'll see if that can stick with Jeremiah Love potentially being on the board for the Titans at the 104 in the NFL draft. Rico Dowdle, another Pittsburgh Steeler, coming off here at 808. Mekhi Lemon, another rookie wide receiver at 8-9. Kyle Monangai, and then Chuba Hubbard coming off the board right before you. Eric, board is open to you at the turn once again. What is the move here? 812 and 901.
Yeah, kind of a weird spot for me, honestly. Not exactly thrilled with how the board is shaken out for me. I do think that we're right at a tier break at a 1Z position, so I'll make that one easy and welcome Trevor Lawrence to the team, the QB4 from last year. Obviously, the talent and profile coming into the league was among one of the best that we've seen in quite some time, and we really started to see him come into his own and live up to that potential under this Liam Cohen system. Not only that, they used him a ton as a runner, right? Number 10 in carry share, number 5 in red zone carries per game. So they're getting him the ball when they are in close and getting him some of that rushing upside. 9 rushing touchdowns last year was the pay dirt. After that, I mean, I feel like we're looking at a real kind of wasteland, right? To Steve's point, this is where you got to kind of plant your flag. I'm gonna tap into the rookie market and go with Jordan Tyson.
Dang it!
A player that you have to think is going to draw some pretty heavy draft capital and should be on the short list of teams that need a second name coming into their wide receiver room. So bringing in the youngster, hoping that he'll pay off some dividends as we get down the stretch run.
Yeah, I almost took Jordan Tyson all the way back at the 801. He was my next favorite wide receiver on the board. So I like that play from you a lot, man. And then Sam Laporta off the board, 902. Tyler Algier coming in for the Arizona Cardinals now. And Blake Corum, another steady Eddie guy. No thought there, Eric, like, hey, I don't want the handcuff. I'm not wasting the roster spot.
No, not that I'm anti-handcuff by any means, but I mean, the downside to Kyren Williams and arguably why he should kind of fall to roughly the point where I took him is that if you want to handcuff it, it's very expensive, right? There are viable fantasy starters, or at least some very high-end depth around this point of drafts. So to, essentially forego that for someone that you're, taking an insurance policy on is a bit rich for me.
Okay. And then we have Travis Hunter and Zach Charbonnet. Steve, time ticking down here at the 907 for you. What do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to go and get my first one-off position here, and I'm going to go Rondé Gadsden over on the Chargers. Mike McDaniel is there now. Mike McDaniel loves a good tight end, and he loves a good athletic tight end. We saw what he did with Jonnu Smith. We saw what he did with Darren Waller for the few games that he was healthy. This is a coach that knows how to scheme up plays. George Kittle also had a monster season with Mike McDaniel running the show in San Francisco. This guy gets the tight end the ball, and to get Gadsden in the ninth round, that is a steal to me. This is a big move tight end that is going to fit perfectly with Mike McDaniel. I am hyped to get him this late.
Yeah, I like the play a lot. And then we have Khalil Shakir coming off the board at the 908. Travis Kelce still hanging on to a 9th round draft capital here at 909. J.K. Dobbins off the board next, and Jawan Johnson. So string of tight ends. I'm going to do the first thing here that I've been meaning to do for a couple rounds, and I'm just going to do it. Like, give me Romeo Doubs. Give me the number 1 wide receiver for Drake May. I think it's just, again, it's not sexy names. Like, it's the same thing with Alec Pierce, just a couple rounds later, but goes to a new situation, to a team that really needs him. And unless they go out late in the first round and get maybe like a KC Concepcion or Denzel Boston, I do see Romeo Doubs being the target leader to one of the best young upside quarterbacks in the NFL. So really, really like that pick at the 912 as my wide receiver 5. Someone I can just think I can stick in there quite a few weeks. And, guys, we're at this kind of gross point in the draft where it's a lot of question marks, right? Like, there's talented wide receivers on the board like Tyreek Hill, like Deebo Samuel, but we don't know the homes for them yet. So I can't gamble there quite yet. I'm going to grab someone who was an absolute monster to start out the season. And I think just continued to make people realize, hey, maybe I'm better than just an average replacement type of player like the Dalton Schultz of the world, because I'm Jake Ferguson, baby. Give me a little fee. This was a guy, he was tight end 1 through the first month, and I think he'll continue to have success, even though we do have a loaded wide receiver core in CeeDee Lamb, in George Pickens, but it's going to be likely a young Dallas secondary if that's the way they go in the draft. Great pass rush, but we'll see what happens after that. So I think Jake Ferguson, it's a tier break here for me. The last tight end I feel really solid about, not sexy about it, but I feel solid about it. And then it's a string of running backs here, 4 in a row with Kenneth Gainwell at 1002, Aaron Jones, Tyjae Spears, and Rachaad White off the board. Steve, you're back on the board. What do you do now?
Yeah, it's tough. Like you said, it's an ugly kind of moment, but what you got to remember is that this is where like you can win leagues. If you find that right guy, if you find the guy who's maybe being undervalued, just isn't quite being respected enough, it's tough but you gotta find the opportunities when they present themselves. And for me, I'm gonna take a swing on some upside. I'm gonna take Jaden Higgins. I
Mm,
kind of like what I saw toward the back end of the year with him. I think another year in that system, another year with CJ Stroud to kind of get himself more acclimated to the NFL game. I think we could see a big touchdown bump for him. He's a big target,
yeah.
good hands, strong hands in the red zone. I am feeling pretty good about Jaden Higgins.
Okay. And then it is Isaiah Pacheco coming off the board next at the 10:07. Woody Marks, Alvin Kamara, Ja'Cory Krasky Merritt, Bill, QJ off the board at the 10:11. Eric, you're on the turn. What do you do here this time?
Yeah, this is really the point where I'm taking some swings at a number of rookies, right? And fortunately, there are some pretty juicy
Don't
ones
do
left
it. Don't
on the
do
board
it
for
again.
me.
Come on.
Casey Concepcion will be the first name that I welcome to the team. He's right in there in that cluster of the top kind of 3 or 4 wide receivers that should be among the most highly touted in this April's draft. And then after that, have to go with what I believe is the running back 2 of this year's class. That is Mike Washington Jr. Presumably the sort of consolation prize for the running back needy team that misses out on Jeremiah Love.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping maybe I could grab Mike Washington, come back around. But Eric, you're tapped in there. I think the 11th round to go after someone like that is a great play. Really loving how you're just continuing to take upside plays. And you're 3 rookies in a row. But these are the guys when you have a pretty loaded front, right, that you want to start stashing on the bench for later in the season as they break out. So just love this draft for you, Eric. Dylan Sampson off the board, 11-2. Jonathan Brooks, Tyrone Tracy, Josh Downs, and then the RB3, some RB2 actually. I saw in Move the Sticks, the latest mock draft, actually has him going at the end of the first round, Jadarian Price in the NFL draft. So Steve might have just got sniped by a couple young rookies that you're interested in. Is that where you go here at the 11:07?
It is. And I'm going to go with my RB holding on to the RB2 for this class by the skin of his teeth. Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska.
No, he's lost that, buddy.
No, not for me. It's my RB2. It may not be yours, but he's certainly mine still. He's shown that he can handle a full workload. He put up a ton of production, and I always believe in production over, metrics, right? Like, yes, the metrics matter, but some of these guys, it's like, oh, they're so good. They're going to be such a star. And it's like, based on what? Because they ran really fast for 40 yards and have never done it in college. Like, it doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, but I've seen Emmett Johnson in a very, very competitive conference in the Big Ten put up monster seasons against Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Oregon, this one, that one. It's just one after the other. This is a guy who I think is ready for the NFL, and I'm excited to see what he does in it.
Okay. All right. Well, Emmett Johnson's the play there for Steve at the 11:07. Jawan Jennings comes next. Emmanuel Wilson in his new home of Seattle. Trey Benson just holding on there on life support, as Steve said a couple weeks ago at the 11:10. And then another rookie, Jonah Coleman, who, I definitely didn't want him on my team. So I just getting sniped left and right here, folks. Very interesting situation I find myself in. I'm going to go ahead and click the button here for a youngster right off the rip. I'm going to grab Denzel Boston. I'm going to get my rookie wide receiver as well. Take the shot there on a guy out of Washington who, look, this is a guy who's working with Will Rogers and then a youngster there as well, and Damon Williams. And, in Jed Fish's program was really a steady Eddie alongside his teammate Jonah Coleman, who just went a pick before this. So really like Denzel Boston. We'll see if he can garner that first round draft capital. There's a lot of these wide receiver needy teams towards the end of the first round. So we'll see if someone jumps up there or, sticks and picks one of these guys. And a lot of different ways I could go here with this next pick, guys. And I'm really torn between a few players. Like, again, I kind of we're at the point now, do you take the shot on Tyreek Hill, hoping he lands somewhere? But it's risky. It's always risky with Tyreek Hill. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the next Tyreek Hill and Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs. This is a guy I recommended as a sleeper a couple of months ago in an early sleeper episode that we did. And I think he's someone who, yeah, definitely needs to continue to grow as a route runner, definitely needs to continue to grow as someone who thrives over the middle, because he definitely doesn't. Bit more gadgety at this point in his career, but we saw what he could do a few seasons ago when he had to take over that Rashee Rice role at the end of the 2024 season, led the NFL playoffs in receiving yards that season, was a borderline wide receiver one and league winner down the stretch there. So I'm going to go ahead and take my shot on Xavier Worthy, just continue to beef up this wide receiver core that I have going there. And is Brenton Strange there at the 1202, Brian Robinson at the 1203, Dalton Kincaid, Braylon Allen. Steve, back on the board to you after taking a couple young upside swings.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have no other way to go. I am in my last pick here, and I don't have a quarterback. So now I'm going to take a quarterback, and I'm going to take a guy who every year is slept on. No one seems to want him. And then he finishes as a top 7 guy every single season in points per game. Give me Dak Prescott at my last pick.
That.
And this is why you wait on the quarterback position, because every year Dak Prescott falls to the double-digit rounds, and every single year he finishes as like a top 7 guy. And it's just like clockwork. So I'm like, why would I take a quarterback when you have a Dak Prescott? And here's some guys who are left over at the quarterback position. You got Mahomes, you got Stafford, you got Goff, you got Kyler Murray, you got Jordan Love, Malik Willis, Baker Mayfield, Tyler Shuck. There is no reason to reach on a quarterback in your drafts when that many guys are still on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Don't panic at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I completely agree. I felt like I had to take a tier break there in Jalen Hurts in the 6th round, but it definitely, I don't feel as great about it kind of looking at the overall spread here late in the draft. I mean, Mahomes is still on the board despite coming off that injury as well. You got a former NFL MVP on the board, still some big swings if you want to take a Malik Willis, Tyler Shuck, someone like that. Jordan Mason comes off the board 1207, 1208, Chris Rodriguez, Brock Purdy 1209, Tank Bigsby 1210, Isaiah Likely 1211. Eric, you got about 20 seconds left here in the mock draft. Where are we going to round us out?
There are so many names that I want to click on here. Going to roll the dice a little bit and bank on the Malik to Malik connection. Malik Washington, the once perceived heir apparent to the Tyreek Hill throne in Miami, is now kind of the last man standing, right? And while this is probably a bit earlier than I would actually take him in an actual draft, I think it's an important opportunity to underscore the balance that you need to strike. As you noted, I went pretty heavy down the rookie path over my last handful of picks. And whenever you're going to do that a bit earlier, going out and finding a guy that might not be flashy, but is in line to lead his team in targets. Think guys like Malik Washington, Jalen Naylor should be the primary receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders, at least wide receiver, right? These are guys kind of like Wan'Dale Robinson last year that, no one's going to pat you on the back for drafting, but they provide a nice, steady baseline of targets while those rookies get their feet under them at the NFL level.
Okay, and now we'll round us out here. Let's get into the analysis and the recap, and let's see what the Fantasy Pros experts think about us. And not too hot, boys, not too hot. We're coming in here. Looks like Steve is the winner between us three. He comes in at 8th overall. Eric coming in here at 10th, and I am at 12th. The experts did not like it for my draft. They're saying overall, just I think I really hurt myself waiting on wide receiver. I waited on tight end then. And I guess for going RB early, I just didn't have that other positional value to really put me up there. But I still really do like some of these picks I made. When we're looking at some of the expert opinions as well, getting the thumbs up from my boy Pat Fitzy, of course, and but my boy Debro and Andrew Erickson not liking it too much there. Anything that you guys want to share from your drafts, Steve? You had you're the winner here, so we'll start with you, man. Anything that you thought was interesting for you? Looks like the experts liked your bench the best. And they also, like, for waiting at quarterback, you still had a better quarterback than a couple people. Same with tight end. And overall, it just looks like a pretty solid squad. Any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so it seems like they like that I got Dak 4 rounds later than they expected, which is great. They don't like that I took Kenneth Walker in the second. They think I should have taken George Pickens. I disagree, but that's fine.
Mhm.
But Dalton Del Don is my he's
EDD.
my yeah he likes me. But look at I got a couple of I got a Fantasy Pros
Yeah.
some love right there. Got a B out of that. My buddy Ryan 85 out of 100. So, anytime I'm in these, and Fitzy even likes my draft. So, but you know what's the most important is that I like my draft. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, all these sites are going to rank your draft and they're going to feel all these sorts of feelings about it. At the end of the day, if you like where you're going and if you like the team you drafted, then that's the draft that's the best draft you could have had. So go out, trust your gut because it's so much better to fall on the sword with your guy
Yes. Yep.
than it is
Said that
to be
top.
like a slave to the consensus rankings. Be bold, have fun. It's a game. We're here to play. And if it falls apart, make some trades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Be diligent on the waiver wire. Many ways to improve. Eric, the experts didn't love your draft, and honestly, I really did because I love the value you scooped up at running back after grabbing Bijan at the 1-1, and then even I thought you had a lot of great upside swings. I'm sure this would be a better draft here, maybe a month from now, as these rookies continue to climb up rankings once we have landing spots. But Fitzy, again, being generous with the grades out there, liking yours, but also some people not liking yours so much as well.
Yeah, one thing we can clearly take away is that Fitzy is an all-around stand-up guy, just patting everyone on the back for their drafts. Happy to have his seal of approval on this one. I think taking a look at how the analysis breaks down, there are a couple of key things. I mentioned taking Bijan at the 101 as opposed to Jamar Chase. You look through some of the pick analysis, and that seems to be an area where Fantasy Pros believes I left a lot of points on the board. Swapping out Bijan and Casey Concepcion for Jamar Chase and Trey Benson should net me some points. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to that analysis. It seems like the rookies are a little bit underprojected this early in the offseason, which is
Agreed.
Honestly fair, right? A lot of the value that rookies have to offer for you is tied to draft capital, and that is an open question. Funny enough, it seems like not drafting Luther Burden is where I'm also hemorrhaging a fair amount of points in this projection as well. Had I done it for the brand and maybe swapped out Dalton Kincaid instead of Tyler Warren, that seems to be an area that would have brought me some points as well. But ultimately, this is how I find myself approaching a lot of drafts. Right, if I feel confident in the defendability or the competitiveness of my starting lineup, I'm happy to be aggressive on getting some upside out of rookies, knowing that there are, as I mentioned at the end, some of those unheralded, unsexy players that can help you bridge the gap while the rookies ultimately realize that upside.
Yeah, totally with you there. Real quick, we'll run through our teams one more time. Any final thoughts, discussions, regrets, successes you had, highlight them. For me, on my team, starting on the turn there, at quarterback, I have Jalen Hurts, Devon Achane, Ashton Jeanty. At wide receiver, then I'm looking Ladd McConkey, Devontae Adams. Not too bad for waiting as long as I did at wide receiver. Jake Ferguson at tight end. I kind of hate that pick looking back when there was Mike Washington Jr. and some other higher upside rookies on the board there. I do regret that pick with Fergie a bit. Emeka Ibuka, Jalen Warren in my flex, feel very steady there. And then I have a lot of high upside plays on the bench at wide receiver. Alec Pierce, Romeo Dobbs specifically. And then, of course, taking the dart throws there on Xavier Worthy and Denzel Boston. Steve, who was on your team, and any final regrets or successes? I'm happy with this overall. Like, I did go pocket rockets on the side. So it was interesting, and maybe the turn just isn't quite the place to go pocket rockets. Maybe I need to be somewhere more towards the middle, so my third round wide receiver ends up a little bit better, and I don't get sniped for people like Carnell Tate.
Yeah, I like my draft. This is the kind of draft, though, that you're going to open up your fantasy app in whatever app you're on, whether it's Sleeper, ESPN, whatever, and you're going to panic when you see the projections, right? The week one projections are going to be absolutely devastating, and you're going to be projected to lose by 100, and it's going to make you want to cry. But this is also a draft that right now, I don't think this draft is even possible say 3 months from now, because I don't think I'm getting Jeremiah Love in the middle of the
Yeah.
third round. I don't think that guys like Luther Burden are going to fall that far. I think training camp hype is just going to push him higher and higher and higher and higher. I think Chris Godwin's ADP will go higher and higher and higher. Parker Washington may go higher and higher and higher. So there's a lot that fell right for me in this draft that I was early, never wrong, just early kind of deal, like where it's like, oh, but you reached on Jeremiah Love until he goes to the Commanders and he has
not at
no
all.
competition, and then blah 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 blah. So I like this team a lot, and again, it's one of those situations where the projections would look awful. They would have me losing every game. I'd be in last place, blah blah blah. But you stick to your guns. You believe in what you're doing. I believe in my research. I believe in my process. And this is the team I got.
Yeah, you have Dak Prescott at quarterback, your running backs, Kenneth Walker, Jeremiah Love, Travis Etienne checking in the first flex, and then wide receivers still got a stud in Amon-Ra St. Brown, Luther Burden, Chris Godwin as well. And then even Dave Montgomery, like he's a guy not cracking your lineup, but who could absolutely, throw down. That's the advantage you got, Steve, with skipping out on these onesie positions that Eric and I, we said we didn't want to reach for them. And, we thought there were tiers, and I do believe we did take them at the end of their tiers, these players. But that's the advantage you got. You got someone like Montgomery who you can put into your lineup each and every week and feel really good about that you don't have to. And then you have Parker Washington, Jaden Higgins on the bench, Emmett Johnson, and then your boy Oronde Gadsden Jr. Eric, run through your team once more for us as well by position, and then any final thoughts?
Yeah, top to bottom, let us off with maybe a bit of a contrarian pick in Bijan Robinson, but I think that he is going to absolutely explode this year. Double tapped wide receiver at the 2-3 turn, Tedero McMillan and Garrett Wilson. Back to the running back room with Kyron Williams, and then broke my form and grabbed Tyler Warren at part because it was very clearly at a tier break for me. Some of that is a consideration of who else would be in that tier. Technically, I would put Kyle Pitts up there, but didn't want to double stack and have that reliance, or at least that conflicting stack with Bijan Robinson. Second consideration, I think it's fun to twist the knife in sets sometimes. So happy to take him off the board and bring him to my team.
Son of a gun.
Moving on down into my flex and into my bench, Marvin Harrison Jr., Quinshon Judkins, two players that have pretty tremendous upside if things break their way. Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback that I drafted to bookend round number 8, and then went down the rookie rabbit hole for a minute. Jordan Tyson, KC Concepcion, Mike Washington, before bringing in the Malik Washington of no relation to Mike Washington to cap us off in round number 12. Really the thing that stands out for me, I do believe that Trevor Lawrence sits in front of a pretty substantial tier break by my book, especially given the rushing upside that he looked to unlock last year. But I entirely misread the room. I was very much so of the opinion that because we're largely drafting against robots and quarterbacks project so well, that we were going to see some teams take a second quarterback before I potentially took my first if I passed up there. That clearly did not come to pass. So would much rather be in Steve's position, waiting a full 4.5 rounds later and having Dak Prescott. But, running the risk of not clicking that button. And then now I'm looking at starting Brock Purdy or an injured Patrick Mahomes or CJ Stroud or something horrific like that was not exactly a risk that I was willing to take.
Okay. All right. Favorite teams. I like, out of the three of us, I think I like Eric's the best, but I think I do. Actually, I like Eric's the best. Steve's wide receivers outside your one kind of scares me a little bit. I'm going to give it to Steve, or to Eric. What about you guys? Favorite?
I like mine. I know that's bad. I like mine.
Eric?
I think I like mine. I'll be bad as well.
Okay. All right. No love for the kid.
Honestly,
I don't like yours,
Steve. If you want a different direction with that Chris Godwin pick, if you go Wandale there or Jacoby there, obviously I'm inclined for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Steve's got him top 15. Steve loves Godwin this season.
I love Chris Godwin this season.
We'll see. That one pick, right? I have a thorn in my side with Chris Godwin in particular. almost any other wide receiver there, and I think you would have taken the day by a pretty wide margin among the three of us.
What's the advice for my team? Like, obviously, I wanted to try something new, going
You
pocket
picked a
rockets
bunch.
there.
You picked 2 players with your first 2 picks that are on garbage teams. I almost broke our no swearing rule. They're just on bad teams, and they're at
Yeah,
positions
I
where
get
if you're
that.
on a bad team, that's a really bad position to be on a bad team with.
Yeah. Sometimes you still get the volume though, but I just didn't like that tier of wide receivers. If anyone was Malik Neighbors, but I just don't want to be the guy to have a receiver coming off the torn ACL. Like if Justin Jefferson was there, I probably would have gone a different direction. But I just don't really like the wide receiver. Like I'm not taking Rashi there. Nico has some question marks as far as his health is concerned a little bit, and just drop in production last season. So I just felt like I was kind of on a turn there, and I was happy to get Ladd and Devontae, but I definitely feel like I am playing
The
an
other issue
uphill
is
battle then.
your wide receivers. There's not a number 1 there yet. Like Ladd took a huge step
Sure.
back last
Yeah, that's
year.
fair. That's
Devontae
fair.
Adams is 150 years old. Emeka Egbuka,
He was a 1 last year, but yeah, can he repeat that?
and then Emeka Egbuka forgot how to
was
play
a one-
football after
one
about
for the
7
first-
weeks.
4 weeks. Yeah. So
Yeah, we've all had hot months before, right?
Yeah.
That's very much so the commentary that I would offer up. I think in a vacuum, opening up H.N. Genty at the 1-2 turn is defensible, right? But in the context of some combination of Ladd McConkey, Devontae Adams, and Emeka Egbuka needing to be at least replacement level to a wide receiver 1, a lot of things need to break your way for that to come to pass.
if I had to put money, one of those wide receivers will be a 1 this year. I just don't know which one it will be. If I had to put money on it, probably Devontae, but I could see Emeka returning to, his first 7-week
You're counting
form.
on Devontae to have historic levels of touchdown production again.
We'll see.
Again,
We'll see. That's
another
what he
year
likes to
older.
do, baby. That's what he likes to
Potentially
do.
with AJ Brown heading to town.
Also,
right?
you know what? I don't like that 2 out of your 4 top wide receivers are white. I think that's just a bad look for your team. I think that's just I think that's a hindrance.
Wow. All right. Well, fair enough. I completely
You look
understand
like Hoosiers right now. Your team
Hey,
looks
man,
awfully Hoosiers-ish.
Someone's got to be that, right? Someone's got to be the exciting whites out
Hardworking
there.
team.
You
Last
got
guys
a
in, last
bunch of
guys out.
gym rats on your team, and I don't like it.
Well, what I do like, folks, is the IBT podcast sub channel. Make sure you guys are subscribing right here if you enjoyed this content. We really appreciate that. So much fun breaking down the mock draft here tonight with Eric and Steve. And also, if you want to continue the conversation with us, come in and weigh in who you think did the best or the worst in the mock draft. We want to hear from you. Weigh in the comments, and also continue that conversation over in the IBT football family as well. That is our premium expanded community over there that we have for you folks. And it's a great place to come chat with our analysts, with our viewers as well, and entry into our memorabilia giveaways. Absolutely no cost for you to join to get that access. But if you do want to upgrade and you want to get our full NFL and my college football betting cards plus the touchdown call contest, you can upgrade for $3.99 per month or $36 for the year. This is also going to include unlocking all the benefits from all the entire IBT families, including the IBT racing family, with the famous NASCAR betting model. It's been on an absolute heater the past couple of weeks, as well as our full betting cards entry into the touchdown call contest over there. We have giveaways. Conversation continues every single week, especially on Sundays for those races. The IBT Entertainment family, Survivor 50 League, going strong right now, tied for 3rd place still. Steve's doing a great job with the box office movie projections for that and Rotten Tomatoes scores you can take advantage of. More giveaways over there. And of course, the full entertainment betting picks we're putting out there. And the IBT Golf family, Jake, Mike, Keith, and the boys doing a really, really fantastic job with that. Weekly exclusive betting model. Of course, you also get the full picks from Jake and entry into the PGA One and Done contest, which is going swimmingly as well. So much goodness, boys, happening here at IBT. I really, really appreciate everything you guys do. Appreciate the audience so much. Again, easiest way to support us, please give this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the sub channel and the main IBT channel as well, where we have fantasy football, NFL betting content for you, college football betting, NASCAR betting, PGA betting, entertainment betting, and reviews, all to help you cash more and to enjoy the ride along the way. Be sure to check out inbetweenmedia.com for some dope written content and join the content community for free in -betweenmedia.com/chat. For Eric Romoff and Steven Lawson, I'm Seth Wilcock. Thank you so much for watching, and keep it in between until next time, y'all. Thank you. Bye.